But John the Baptist, the devil hates that type of message. And we read that Herod imprisoned him. Matthew 4, verse 12. Jesus heard that John had been taken into custody. There are many things that God does, which I tell you honestly, I cannot understand. Just like you experience things in your life that you can't understand. As soon as I open the Gospel of Matthew, there are things I can't understand. And then I say, Lord, that's because I'm human. My way of thinking is so human. God, who sees the overall picture, sees the end from the beginning, sees 6,000 years of man's history, sees all the millions of people in the world, He thinks in a different way. Just like my little children, when they're small, 2, 3 years old, they don't think like I think. I see a broader picture, they see a small thing. The same way I see with God. I'm like a little baby. God sees the whole picture. I'll give you one example. Why should John be taken into custody? Man who's preaching such a fiery message, can't God kill Herod and keep John preaching? That's what I do. But God says no. I'll let Herod live and let Herod kill John. That's crazy to me. Doesn't it sound crazy to you? But it's not crazy. It's because I don't have the wisdom of God. Do you see how there are certain things we cannot explain? I'll give you another example. In Matthew chapter 2, it says the wise men Herod told the wise men, when you go to Bethlehem, you find Jesus, come and tell me, I also want to worship him. He wanted to kill him. And the wise men were warned by an angel, don't go back to Herod. And they disappeared, and Herod was waiting for nearly a number of months anyway. And when he discovered that they duped him and there's some child born who is going to be a king, is going to replace me as king of the Jews, you know what he did? It says in Matthew chapter 2 that he sent, the story, he sent soldiers to kill all the children in Bethlehem that were below 2 years old. Imagine a little town where every child below the age of 2 was killed. I say, Lord, why? What would I have done if I were there? I would have killed Herod. What would you have done? Tell me. Would you have killed Herod, or would you have allowed all these babies to be killed? I say, Lord, my ways are not your ways. I'm a stupid man. Your ways are far superior to my ways, but I can't understand it. I'll tell you today, even today I can't understand why God did not kill Herod, but had all those little babies to die and all those mothers, I don't know how many hundreds of mothers, crying and weeping. But I say, Lord, your ways are perfect. I just say that. This is just the beginning of Matthew. 2,000 years of church history. Why was James the apostle killed when he was 30 years old? Was it because there were hundreds of apostles? No. There were only 11. And one of them is killed. I can't understand. A few days later, the angel comes and releases Peter. Why didn't the angel come 3 days earlier and release James? I would have done it. But God doesn't do it. God says, no, James' time is over. He's got to die. I'm just giving you these examples, my brothers and sisters, because some things can happen in your life like that. And you may say, I wouldn't have done it like that. Agreed. But if you have honestly tried to live in the will of God, trusting Him and honoring Him, there are many things that can happen in your life which you may not be able to understand. Maybe you have a sick child and you don't know why. Why has God given me? So many others, even ungodly people, terrorists have healthy children. Why a true disciple of Jesus should have a sick child? I don't know. But there are 1,000 things I don't know. Because my mind is like a little cup, and the ocean of God's wisdom doesn't fit into this cup. You know what I do? I humble myself and say, Lord, I don't know. Teach me your ways. Teach me the principles of your government. I want to learn it. And if you're humble, God will teach you. And I'll tell you, I've learned a lot more in these 55 years than I knew at the beginning. And if I remain humble, I will learn more in the next few years. I've learned a lot about God's ways, but not everything still. I want to encourage you, never grumble or complain. Because you grumble and complain because you think your wisdom is superior to God's. It's not. If you prayed for a child and God took away that child in death, I don't know why He did it. I can comfort you, but I can't give you an explanation. But I can say this: God's ways are not our ways, but His ways are far better. As much better as heaven is above earth, as much higher as heaven is above earth. That is our confession of faith. Think of Christians who were tortured in prisons for so many years. Why didn't God release them? Even in this last 100 years. Even right now, in places like China, and probably a day coming in India. Why should that man who sacrificed his job and gone to North India to preach the gospel, why should he be killed by anti-Christian people? Now, in the last 1 year. Why should his house be burned? Why should his children be made fatherless when he went there, sacrificing a good job he had to preach the gospel out there? Why does God allow that? I say, Lord, I don't know. But I still say your ways are best. That I will never change. I will have no complaint. Now I want to say this, my brothers and sisters, if you ever have a doubt about that, you're going to have serious problems in the days to come in following Jesus. Because you'll be putting your puny little mind against the almighty wisdom of God and thinking you know more. That is the height of stupidity. That's what I'm trying to say. The government of God, the primary requirement is humility.